Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to Emma's Betrayal Stories now. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories aren't rushed, they're the kind you sit with. Today's story comes with an update and my own personal opinions throughout the story. Let me know in the comments if you agree or see it differently. Let's begin.
I caught my sister trying to sabotage my promotion. I turned the tables in a major way. The moment I saw my sister's name glowing on the last edited by line, my whole body went cold in this weird, delayed way, like my brain tried to protect me by slowing everything down. My cursor hovered over the file history while the office around me kept moving like nothing was wrong. The faint clack of someone's heels in the hallway, the printer grinding through a stack of paper, the low murmur of two nurses arguing about a schedule at the front desk. I could taste the cheap peppermint gum I'd been chewing, and suddenly it felt like chemicals. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to press my wrist against the desk to steady it. "No," I whispered, barely a sound. Then I clicked into the version history, and there it was, plain as day. My promotion packet, the one Malcolm told me to finalize before the leadership review, had been changed. Not accidentally. Not a typo. Whole sections were rewritten to make me look incompetent. My sister had done it while I was in the bathroom. It was a Wednesday, and I'd been running on 3 hours of sleep and pure stubbornness for weeks. I work in a hospital-affiliated research unit. Clinical trials, patient coordination, compliance documentation, the boring but necessary stuff that keeps everything legal and ethical. The promotion I was up for wasn't glamorous, but it was everything to me. Research operations lead. It meant I'd finally be the one setting processes instead of begging people to follow them. It meant a pay bump big enough to stop living like one flat tire could ruin my month. It meant, more than anything, that I'd have a title that matched the work I'd already been doing quietly for 2 years. And my sister, Avery, was the reason I'd been doing it quietly. Avery is 2 years younger than me, and she also works at the same hospital. Different department, same building, same cafeteria, same gossip pipeline. She's in patient services, which means she's constantly around people, constantly talking, constantly collecting social capital like it's currency. She's good at charming. She's good at being the person everyone feels sorry for. She's also good at making sure any spotlight pointed at me gets turned slightly, just enough that I look harsh for wanting it. When I got hired into the research unit, my parents called it a real job and acted relieved, like I'd finally come to my senses. When Avery got hired into patient services, they called her a people person and acted proud, like she'd been chosen by fate. Growing up, it was always like that. I was the safe one. Avery was the special one. I was the dependable daughter. She was the one who needed support. If I got an A, my dad would say, "Good." If Avery got a B, my mom would say, "That's amazing, sweetheart. I know you worked so hard." It sounds small until you live inside it for 28 years and realize your spine has been bent into a shape that fits everyone else. I didn't even want to work in the same building as Avery. I tried to avoid it. But hospitals are little cities with the same faces repeating, and somehow our paths kept crossing. At first it was harmless. Awkward lunches, her popping into my office to say hi, a few jokes about me being the serious one. Then the jokes started getting sharper. She'd say things like, "Maya's basically married to her spreadsheets," in front of people. Or she'd tell a nurse loudly, "If Maya doesn't answer, it's because she's probably reporting someone for breaking a rule." Everyone would laugh like it was cute. The thing is, compliance isn't cute. It's literally my job. 2 months ago, we had an internal audit scare. One of the studies had missing consent documentation and leadership was tense. I stepped in, cleaned it up, rebuilt the filing system, trained 2 new coordinators, and got us through without any penalties. Afterward, my manager Malcolm started taking me seriously in a way he hadn't before. He asked my opinion in meetings. He started sending me higher-level tasks. Then one afternoon he closed his office door and said, "I'm putting you forward for the ops lead role." I remember gripping the arms of the chair, trying not to look too eager. "Are you sure?" I asked because that's what women like me do. We ask if we're sure we deserve the thing we've already earned. Malcolm nodded. "You've been operating at that level," he said. This is just making it official. We're doing leadership reviews next month. I want you ready. I walked out of that office floating. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Avery. Coffee later? I have news. I should have ignored it. I should have kept my joy private. Instead, I met her downstairs at the cafe kiosk because part of me still wants her to be a normal sister. She told me she was also going for a promotion. Not in her department, but she'd heard there might be an opening in research administration, and she thought she'd be perfect. She said it with this breezy confidence, like she was already wearing the title. Then she looked at me and said, "You're going for something too, right?" I hesitated, just a second. And she saw it. "Oh my God," she said, eyes widening like she'd cracked a code. "You are." "What is it?" I told her. Because I'm an idiot, or because I was still soft enough to think sisters don't sabotage each other. Her smile held for a beat too long. Then she laughed. "Ops lead," she said. "That's intense. Are you sure you want that much responsibility?" It was said like concern, but it landed like doubt. "I already have the responsibility," I said carefully. "This just makes it official." Avery stirred her coffee slowly, metal spoon clinking against a cup. "Well," she said, "good luck. You know, leadership roles are political." That word, political, like a warning. After that, the weirdness escalated. She started appearing near my office more often. She'd message me about how the process works and who sits on panels. She'd ask what Malcolm was like as a manager, then laugh and say, "I'm just curious." She started making comments to our parents at dinner, like, "Maya's boss is kind of strict, I hope she can handle it." And my mom would look at me and say, "Just don't get stressed, love." As if stress was my personality flaw instead of a normal reaction to working in a hospital. Then, 2 weeks before the leadership review, someone forwarded me an anonymous complaint that had been submitted through the internal portal. It was about me. It said I was condescending, controlling, overly rigid, and creates a hostile environment. It said I talk down to staff. It said I weaponize policies. It didn't name Avery, obviously, because it was anonymous. But I read it and felt that familiar sinking recognition because the language sounded like her. The same phrases she uses when she wants to make someone look like the villain for having boundaries. I went into Malcolm's office with the printout and my heart trying to crawl out of my chest. "I didn't do this," I said, voice tight. Malcolm looked tired. "I know," he said. "But HR flagged it, so we have to follow process." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means we document," he said. "It means it exists. It doesn't mean it's true. But Maya, keep your nose clean. Be careful. Be careful." Like I wasn't already walking on eggshells. I started documenting everything. Every training I did. Every feedback email. Every compliment from a principal investigator. I kept a folder of proof like I was building a defense for a trial I didn't ask to be in. And then came Wednesday, the day I found the file. The promotion packet is a big deal in our unit. It includes a summary of accomplishments, examples of process improvements, impact metrics, and a leadership philosophy section that makes me cringe because it always feels like writing a dating profile for work. Malcolm had told me to finalize it by end of day. I'd been editing it all morning, then went to the bathroom. I was gone for 5 minutes. 5. When I came back, the file felt off, like the formatting had shifted. I scrolled and my eyes snagged on a sentence I would never write. Maya sometimes struggles to delegate and can become overwhelmed under pressure. My stomach flipped so hard I had to grip my chair. I clicked into version history. Avery's name. I swear my vision blurred. I could hear my own breathing loud in my ears. I sat there staring at it like if I stared long enough it would turn into someone else's name. Then anger hit. Hot, clean anger that pushed the panic aside. I didn't confront her immediately. I didn't storm down to patient services. I didn't call my mom crying. I did what I've learned to do in environments that punish emotion. I gathered proof. I downloaded the file history. I saved screenshots with timestamps. I restored the version back to mine but kept her edited version saved separately. I checked access logs to see how she got permissions. That was the part that made my skin crawl the most. The file was in a shared hospital drive, but access was restricted to our unit. Avery shouldn't have been able to open it. Unless someone gave her access. Unless she used someone's login. Or unless she'd been creeping around my computer when I stepped away. I looked at my monitor, then at my keyboard, and remembered something small. Earlier that week, Avery had popped into my office with a fake smile and said, "Your keyboard is so loud. How do you type like that?" She'd laughed and leaned over my desk like she was joking, like she wasn't watching where my sticky note with my temporary access code was tucked under the keyboard tray. I felt sick. I messaged my coworker Nina, who sits 2 desks over. "Did you see Avery near my desk when I went to the bathroom?" Nina replied almost instantly. "Yeah.
She came by.
She said you told her to grab something from your printer." My hands went colder. "Did she?" I typed.
Nina, no.
"She was on your computer for a minute. I thought it was weird, but I figured you knew." I stared at that message until the words stopped looking like words. Then I took a slow breath, the kind you take when you're trying to stop your body from hijacking you. I emailed IT security. I didn't accuse Avery by name yet. I just said, "Unauthorized access may have occurred to a restricted file. I have file history showing edits from an account that should not have access. Please investigate access logs." Attachments, screenshots, file history, timestamps. Then I emailed Malcolm. The promotion packet was edited without my authorization. I have evidence and have looped in IT security. Please meet with me, ASAP. My finger hovered over the send button for a second, because part of me still feared being seen as dramatic. Then I hit send anyway. Avery, meanwhile, acted normal. She even messaged me at lunch. "Hey, do you want to meet after work?" I feel like we've been distant. Like, she hadn't just tried to plan a narrative in my own promotion packet. I stared at her message and felt something in me harden. I didn't reply. I blocked her number for the afternoon because I needed silence. Malcolm met me at 2 p.m. in a small meeting room. He looked tense.
"Show me," he said.
I slid my laptop toward him with the file history open. He scrolled, jaw tightening. "How did she get access?" he asked. "I don't know yet," I said. But Nina saw her at my computer, and the edits are not subtle. Malcolm exhaled through his nose, slow. "This is serious," he said. "This is not sibling drama. This is a breach." My throat tightened. "HR already has an anonymous complaint about me," I said quietly. "And now this." Malcolm's eyes sharpened. "You think it's connected?" "I think it's her," I said, and the words tasted strange, like admitting it made it more real. Malcolm didn't argue. He just nodded once, like he'd been thinking it too, and didn't want to say it out loud. He told me to stop working for the rest of the day.
To let IT do its job.
To not speak to Avery. To document everything. His voice was calm, but his hands were clenched. I left the meeting room and sat at my desk staring at the wall, feeling like my body was buzzing with adrenaline that had nowhere to go. My coworkers kept typing. Phones kept ringing. The world kept moving while my life felt like it had tilted. That evening, my mom called. I didn't answer. My dad called. I didn't answer. Avery called from a private number. My phone lit up with unknown caller, and my stomach clenched so hard it hurt. I went home, sat on my couch, and opened my laptop again. I rechecked the screenshots. I rechecked the timestamps. I wrote everything down in a notes doc like I was preparing for court. And then I got an email from HR scheduling a meeting the next morning, regarding concerns raised about workplace conduct and security. My mouth went dry, because I knew what Avery would do next. If she's caught, she won't just apologize. She'll escalate. She'll cry. She'll make me look like the aggressor. She'll call her parents. She'll tell everyone I'm attacking her. And I also knew something else. I was done letting her write my story. So this is where I'm ending the story midway, because that HR meeting was the hinge. It was the moment where either the system protected me, or it proved my worst fears right. Avery isn't just jealous. Jealous is rolling your eyes when your sister gets praised. This is calculated sabotage with a hospital login and a file history. Editing someone's promotion packet to make them look unstable is the workplace version of tampering with evidence, and the fact she did it in a healthcare environment, where documentation and integrity actually matter, makes it even uglier. Malcolm earns points for taking it seriously and not dismissing it as family nonsense, because a lot of managers would do the sorted-out privately thing that quietly protects the person causing harm. Nina also deserves credit for telling the truth, even though it put her in an awkward position. And me? I'm proud I didn't immediately explode, but I'm also mad I had to learn to treat my own feelings like a liability. Women get punished for being upset in professional spaces, and Avery knows that. She's banking on me looking emotional, so she can play calm victim. The anonymous complaint is the most telling part. She's been laying groundwork. She didn't just wake up and decide to be messy. She's been building a narrative about me as hostile so that any defense I make looks like proof. That's manipulative in a way that goes beyond sibling rivalry. It's character assassination. And my parents? If they automatically side with her because she's sensitive or going through a lot, they're part of the machine that taught her she can do whatever she wants, and someone else will be told to keep the peace. Honestly, the only satisfying thing here is that digital systems don't care about her tears. File histories don't care about her charm. Logs don't care about her victim performance. If she's going to play dirty, she picked the wrong battlefield.
Update. Okay.
Deep breath. The HR meeting happened, and it was both worse and better than I expected. I walked into the conference room at 9 a.m. with my laptop, a folder of printed screenshots, and that hollow feeling you get right before you know you're about to be misunderstood. HR was there, Sonia, the HR partner assigned to our division. IT security was there too, a guy named Kareem who had the kind of calm face that makes you feel like you're the only one panicking. Malcolm was there, thank God. And Avery was there. No one told me she'd be there. She sat at the end of the table in a soft beige cardigan like she was auditioning to play innocent younger sister in a low-budget movie. Her hands were folded. Her eyes were shiny. The second I walked in, she looked up and said, "Hi," in this tiny voice like I'd been ignoring her for weeks. Sonia started with the corporate neutral tone. "We're here to discuss two matters," she said. One is a complaint regarding workplace conduct. The other is a potential security breach involving restricted files. Avery immediately spoke. "I didn't want it to be like this," she said, voice trembling. I've been scared to say anything because Maya can be really intimidating." I felt my heart thud in my chest. There it was. The narrative. Intimidating. Sonia nodded like she was taking it seriously. "Thank you for sharing," she said, then turned to me. "Maya, we'll give you an opportunity to respond, but first we need to establish facts." Kareem opened his laptop and said, "We reviewed access logs for the restricted drive folder. The file was accessed using Maya's workstation at 11:42 a.m. yesterday. The user credentials used were Maya's." Avery's eyes flicked toward me, quick and sharp, then back to watery. "See?" she whispered, like it proved something. Kareem continued, calm. "However, we also reviewed proximity badge logs and camera coverage in the hallway outside the unit. Maya's badge was not used to enter the unit at that time, because she was already inside. Avery's badge was recorded entering the unit at 11:38 a.m. Avery's face froze for half a second. Sonia blinked. "Avery, why were you entering the research unit yesterday?" she asked. Avery's mouth opened, then closed. Maya asked me to," she said quickly. "She said she needed a printout, and she was busy." My stomach clenched because it was such a stupid lie. But it was also a smart lie because it framed me as the one involving her. Malcolm spoke, voice firm. "Maya did not ask her," he said. "And Avery has no business entering our unit unescorted." Avery's eyes flashed, then filled again. "He always takes her side," she said, like Malcolm was my dad at a soccer game. Kareem scrolled and said, "We also have file history showing edits were made under Maya's credentials, yes. But the edits included copy-pasted text that matches a note Avery drafted earlier that morning on her hospital-issued email account." The room went quiet in that thick way where you can feel everyone deciding what they believe. Avery's voice rose. That's not. People share phrases, she said, too fast. I've talked to Maya about leadership stuff. Maybe she copied me.
Is zegt de heer.
You think I copied you to write that I get overwhelmed? I asked, and my voice sounded strange in my own ears. Sonia held up a hand. Maya, please, she said, which annoyed me because Avery had been talking uninterrupted for 5 minutes. Kareem kept going. We also found Avery's device connected to the unit's guest printer at 11:40 a.m., and a print job was sent from Maya's workstation at 11:41 a.m. that included the promotion packet. Avery swallowed. You could actually see it in her throat. Sonia turned to Avery. Did you use Maya's computer yesterday? She asked, more directly now. Avery's eyes flicked to Malcolm, then to me. I was just trying to help, she said, voice breaking. She's been so stressed and she refuses to ask for help, and I thought if I just cleaned up her writing a bit. I cut in, quietly but firmly.
You didn't clean it up, I said.
You inserted negative statements about me into my own promotion packet. Avery turned toward me with this sudden fury under the tears. Because you need to hear it, she snapped, then immediately looked back at Sonia like she hadn't just slipped. I mean, she has been treating people badly.
Sonia's tone changed.
Avery, she said, editing another employee's restricted promotion materials under their credentials is not help. It is a serious breach. Avery started crying. Like real crying. Loud, shaking. The kind that makes people want to comfort you. The kind that makes you look like a monster for sitting there calmly. And that's when I realized her performance wasn't for HR. It was for our parents. Because my phone started vibrating on the table.
Mum, Dad, Bella.
I didn't answer. Sonia asked me to step out while they spoke with Avery privately. I walked into the hallway and leaned against the wall, feeling like I might throw up. Malcolm stepped out a minute later and said, "Lo, you did the right thing." "I feel insane," I whispered. "You're not," he said. 10 minutes later, Sonia called me back in. Avery was gone. Her chair was empty. The room felt quieter without her tears. Sonia said, "Avery has been placed on administrative leave, pending further investigation. IT will also conduct a full security review on access protocols in your unit." My shoulders sagged like someone had cut a string. "Okay," I said, voice small. Sonia continued. "Regarding the conduct complaint," she said, "we have no corroborating evidence beyond the anonymous submission. We will not be taking disciplinary action against you. However, we encourage all staff to maintain respectful communication." It was the most HR sentence ever, but it meant the complaint wouldn't derail my promotion. That mattered. Then came the family fallout. Avery called my mom from the parking lot. My mom called me screaming. Not crying. Screaming. "How could you do this to your sister?" she shouted the moment I answered, like I'd pushed Avery into traffic instead of reporting a breach. My dad got on the line and said, "This is family. You don't involve HR." I felt something snap, not loudly, just cleanly. "She involved HR when she filed a complaint about me," I said. "She involved HR when she hacked my promotion packet." My mom cried then. "She's struggling," she said. "She's under so much pressure." "So was I replied. "And I didn't sabotage anyone." Bella texted me later. "I love you."
"I'm sorry."
"Mom is blaming you." I stared at that message for a long time, feeling both grateful and lonely. Avery sent me one message before she got locked out of her accounts. "You always have to win. You always have to be the good one." Then, "I hope they see who you really are." And the worst part? For a few seconds, I felt guilty. Because that's what lifelong family dynamics do. They make you feel responsible for the consequences of someone else's choices. But then IT sent me a separate email confirming they found evidence of credential misuse and unauthorized access. Cold language. Formal language. The kind of language that doesn't care about childhood roles. That email felt like oxygen. By Friday, Avery's leave became termination. Not just because of my file, because the investigation found she'd been doing other things, accessing files outside her scope, using coworkers' logins by accident, and sending messages from shared terminals. HR called it a pattern. My promotion review panel still happened the following week. Malcolm told me the integrity of my work was not in question. I walked into that panel with my stomach in knots and walked out feeling like I'd aged 5 years in 1 hour. And then, this part is messy. Avery showed up at my apartment building 2 nights later. She rang the buzzer over and over until my neighbor answered and told her to leave. She texted Bella, "Maya ruined me. She stole my life." She posted vague stories online about betrayal and snakes in your own blood. Our mom shared one of them. Shared it. That was the moment I stopped hoping my parents would magically become fair. Because seeing your mother publicly support a lie about you does something deep and quiet to your trust. It doesn't scream. It just leaves.
So yeah,
That's the update so far. Avery is fired.
my parents are furious at me.
HR is on record that I didn't do anything wrong. And my promotion decision is pending but not derailed. Now I'm going to continue the story and finish it, because the final part isn't about Avery losing her job. It's about me deciding what I'm willing to lose to keep my peace. Back to the story. The promotion decision came through on a Thursday afternoon. Malcolm called me into his office, closed the door, and said, "Congrats, Maya. You got it." For a second, I just sat there staring at him like my brain couldn't accept good news in the middle of chaos. "I did," I asked stupidly. He smiled a little. "You did," he said. "Effective next pay cycle. Ops lead." My eyes burned. I blinked hard because I didn't want to cry in front of Malcolm, and I also didn't want Avery's shadow in this moment at all. "Thank you," I managed. Malcolm's expression softened. "I'm sorry it happened like this," he said, "but I'm glad you protected yourself." I walked back to my desk and sat down and let the news wash over me. My hands shook again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was release. The kind of trembling your body does when it realizes it's safe for half a second. Then my mum texted, "So you got what you wanted."
No congratulations. No pride.
Just accusation. I stared at it, thumb hovering. The old me would have written a long explanation. The old me would have begged. The old me would have tried to fix it. Instead I wrote, "I got what I earned." Avery tried to interfere. "I'm not discussing this anymore." Mum replied instantly, "You're heartless." I put my phone face down and went back to work. That weekend, my parents hosted a family meeting. Bella begged me to come. "Please," she said. "They're spiraling. Just come and talk." I went, not because I thought it would be fair, but because I needed to see it with my own eyes, to stop fantasizing that there was a version of my family that would suddenly understand. We sat in the living room like we were about to discuss funeral arrangements. My mum had tissues out, like she'd staged the set. My dad sat rigid in his chair. Bella sat beside me, hands clenched. Mum started. "Avery is devastated," she said. "She can't sleep. She's humiliated." I said, "So was I." Dad cut in. "You could have handled it privately," he said.
How?
I asked. "She used my credentials and edited my promotion packet. If I handled it privately, she'd do it again. Or she'd do it to someone else." Mum's eyes flashed. "She's your sister," she said, voice sharp. "And I'm your daughter," I replied, and my voice didn't shake this time. "Why is your empathy only for her?" Silence. Bella whispered, "Mum," like she wanted to intervene, but she didn't know where to put her hands. Dad said, "Avery says you've always looked down on her." I laughed once, not amused, just shocked. "I recommended her to everyone who would listen," I said. "I covered for her when she was late. I rewrote her emails so she wouldn't sound unprofessional. I've been protecting her reputation for years." Mum's mouth tightened. "Maybe that's the problem," she said. "You act like you're better." "No," I said. "The problem is you raised her to believe she can do anything and someone else will absorb the consequences." My dad stood up, face red. "Don't you speak to your mother like that," he snapped.
Bella flinched.
I stood up too, calm. This isn't a conversation, I said. This is you trying to make me responsible for Avery's choices. Mum's eyes filled. So you're abandoning your sister, she whispered. I'm setting boundaries, I said. If Avery gets help and takes responsibility, I'll talk. If she keeps blaming me, I won't. Dad pointed toward the door, like he couldn't help himself. Then go, he said.
So I did.
In my car, I sat with my hands on the steering wheel and my chest tight, and I realized something that hurt and freed me at the same time. My family doesn't actually want truth. They want a version of reality where Avery is never the villain, because if she's the villain, then they have to admit they enabled her. I went home, turned my phone off, and slept like someone who'd been holding their breath for years. A month later, Bella came over alone. She looked tired. Avery's still blaming you, she said softly. Mom and Dad are stuck. I nodded. I know.
Bella swallowed.
I'm proud of you, she said. And I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. My throat tightened. Thank you, I whispered. Avery hasn't apologized. She's tried to message me through friends, through Bella, through our cousin. Always the same tone. I ruined her. I humiliated her. I'm cold.
No accountability.
No, I'm sorry I did that. But here's the thing. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not holding my life hostage to someone else's refusal to grow up. I got the promotion.
I'm doing the job.
I'm rebuilding trust at work. And at home, I'm learning what it feels like to stop chasing love that's conditional on me being smaller. That's the major way I turn the tables. Not by humiliating Avery, not by screaming, not by playing petty games. I turned the tables by letting documentation speak, letting systems do their job, and then refusing to accept the family script that says I have to bleed to keep everyone else comfortable. Avery is dangerously good at blending sabotage with victimhood. She didn't just want the promotion for herself. She wanted me to lose mine because my success feels like an insult to her. That's the kind of insecurity that doesn't stay contained. It spreads. Editing your sister's promotion packet under her credentials is next-level reckless, and honestly, it's also stupid, because systems log everything. The tears in HR weren't remorse, they were strategy. She cried to pull focus away from the facts and toward feelings, because she spent her whole life watching feelings win in our house. Malcolm did exactly what a manager should do. He treated it like a breach, not like sibling conflict. That matters. Because workplaces love to minimize women's problems as drama until the paperwork becomes undeniable. Kareem and IT security deserve credit too. Cold logs and timestamps are the great equalizer when someone's trying to rewrite reality. Nina also deserves a quiet shout-out because it takes guts to say, yeah, she was on your computer, when you know the fallout will splash on everyone nearby. And my parents? They're the kind of parents who think loyalty means denial. They didn't ask, did Avery do it? They jumped straight to, how could you report her? Which tells you everything. Avery's comfort is their priority, and accountability is something they expect other people to swallow. My mom's she's devastated line makes me want to scream, because devastation is not a shield against consequences. My dad's handle it privately is basically code for keep the family image clean even if it costs you. Bella is the only one I have hope for because she's waking up to how unfair the dynamic is, even if she's late. And me? I'm proud of the version of me that didn't beg for permission to be believed. I used to think being nice meant letting people step on you quietly. Now I think being mature means telling the truth even when people call you heartless for refusing to lie with them. Avery didn't just try to sabotage a promotion. She tried to sabotage my identity at work, my reputation, my credibility, my future. She deserves the consequences she earned. And if my parents want a relationship with me that isn't built on me being the sacrificial stable one, they can start by admitting the truth out loud. Avery did this. I didn't cause it. I just refused to be its victim.